I would say I get about 5 to 10 watches per day. Everything from a Seiko battery change to Journe, Vacheron, high complicated pieces. For servicing the Omega Speedmaster, it's one of my favorite watches to work on. I have a lot of experience doing it, spent the better part of 5 years working for Omega. There's a lot of different aspects to look at, focusing on the chrono components, make sure they all interact properly, going through the gear train, make sure everything is doing what it's supposed to. If I'm doing a full service, I have to replace the crown, the pushers, the crystal, the case back gasket. First step is uncasing the watch, take off the dial, take off the hands. So once the dial and hands are removed, the first step is checking the chronograph mechanism on the dial side. I want to make sure that the reset hammer is doing what it's supposed to. The blocking lever is having proper interaction with the hour recording runner. And that start, stop, and reset all function in the proper order. Once I determine that's okay, that's when I start the disassembly of the movement. And as I go through, I check all the surfaces. Is there any excessive wear and tear on any of the components? This is the component that relays the information to the dial side of the mechanism. The spring for the reset hammer. Now I'm going to remove the bridge that holds in the chrono runner and the minute runner for the chronograph. And this also has the jumper underneath that dictates runner is allowed to jump. The minute runner, intermediate, and the chrono runner. I'm just checking to make sure all the teeth are intact, there's no damage, there's no burrs, and the pivots are in good shape. Next there's the spring for the chrono runner. Next is the spring for the coupling wheel. Next we'll remove the coupling wheel and the bridge. Now this is the blocking lever. Whenever the chronograph is stopped, this comes in contact with the chrono runner to prevent it from moving before it gets reset back to 0. This is the cam for the chronograph, which dictates what position it's in, whether it's start, stop, or reset. And this is the spring mechanism for the start and stop pusher of the chronograph. Next is the stem bolt for hammer. This is the part of the reset for the chronograph with its very delicate spring. And then we have the spring for the blocking lever. Now we'll do the rest of the disassembly of the chronograph on the dial side. This is the spring for the reset pusher. Now we can safely remove the pusher from this side of the mechanism. Alright, so that's that. We'll take off the hour wheel. Once the top layer of the chronograph is disassembled, that's when I start inspecting the gear train. Also want to make sure all the power is released from the mainspring before you start taking apart the plates and bridges. Now for the driving wheel. So now you got the 3/4 plate. Underneath here is the crown wheel for the winding mechanism. So now we'll take apart the rest of the winding and setting mechanism. Move the cannon pinion, which is fitted to the center wheel. That's what the minute hand gets fitted to. So once everything's disassembled, the balance will get refitted and is attached to the main plate for the cleaning process. Once I go through, determine all the gears are proper, everything is in good shape, all it needs to be is cleaned, I will put it into cleaning baskets, goes through the ultrasonic. Once that comes out, it's all dry, I'll start to do the reassembly.
Here at Manfredi, we think service is truly the only time that you can deliver luxury. The growth and the complication and the extent of the watches that have come into our life that we marvel at, we can never forget that they need service, they need maintenance, they need tweaking.
I think as retailers we need to remember that these beautiful watches are items for a lifetime. If you take care of them, they will outlive you. We cherish the opportunity to sell new watches, but also have that same amount of care and excitement when it comes back, even sometimes 10, 15, 20, 25 years later.
We are very fortunate and grateful that our clients are enamored with these mechanical wonders, and the only thing that I think would impede this love affair would be with poor after-sales service. And I look at this as a great opportunity to acquire a client and deliver the promise that they were given when we sold them a watch.